Hello, Rustam here from Ace IELTS and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'd like to share with you a video interview that I've done with one of my students, Mustafa. Mustafa is a student at MEF University, the university where I work at. So Mustafa has agreed to spare some time talking about his experience with English language learning. Like for many of you sitting here, English is a foreign language for Mustafa, but Mustafa has achieved outstanding results. His level of English is amazing. I think he's very close to native speakers level. So in this interview, in this video interview, he's sharing some effective, strategies and tips and giving some advice on how you guys can improve your speaking skills. Now, what is especially interesting about Mustafa is that he speaks with beautiful British pronunciation. Well, in his interview, he mentioned that he has never been to an English-speaking country like England, nor he had a native speaker of English as his teacher. Amazing, isn't it? So he managed to pick up the accent all by himself by working hard. And in this interview, he will share some secret behind his success, right? So I hope you'll enjoy the video and let me or Mustafa know if you have any questions in the comments. And I hope you have a great time.
Okay. Hi, Mustafa, and a huge thank you for agreeing to join me today, and to spare some time to talk about your experience with English language.
Well, thank you for having me here as well.
Great, my pleasure. Thank you. Could you briefly maybe introduce yourself first?
Yes, I am. My name is Mustafa. I am currently studying in university, MEF University, for computer engineering. I've been studying English for 10 years at this point, but I have been only doing it seriously for the past 3 years, you can say.
So tell me a little bit about your experience with English in school.
In school? Well, I've never had that good of English teachers in school, to be honest. Well, I didn't have bad teachers, just to say, but they were Turkish and they have learned English in Turkey. So it was a big problem for me while learning English seriously, because all I have heard from them up to that point was English spoken in Turkey.
Right. And how could you describe the experience? I mean, the approach that the teachers used, was it mostly like communicative, so they encourage you to speak during lessons, or was it mostly like grammar, vocabulary based, where you would just basically be given a book and you just do your grammar and just learn and memorize words? Because I'm pretty familiar to this system, and I've seen many Turkish teachers doing so. So I wonder, what was your experience like?
My experience was like, we did not go by the book that was given by the schools. Our teachers had separate sources to teach by on the classes, and it was kind of mixed, because for one, they had to abide by the schedule of the system, but also they want to teach something else. So we spoke limitedly in classes. We did not have that much focus on speaking. It was following grammar sometimes.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you. Tell me if you have ever lived or maybe traveled to a foreign country, or an English-speaking country, I mean?
An English-speaking country. I've never traveled to an English-speaking country. I've been in Germany a couple of times before, but I've never been in an English-speaking country.
You've never lived in an English-speaking country?
No.
Wow, that's amazing, because your pronunciation is so good. So you managed to pick up beautiful British accent. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I wonder, what was the reason you decided to pick up the British accent, not American?
The British accent, well, it sounded more natural to me, if that makes sense. Maybe it's
more complicated.
Maybe it's something to do with how I learned it when I was beginning. But when I started to look into pronunciations, the British version sounded more correct than the American ones. If that makes sense.
Great, thank you. And have you ever had any native British teacher or a person you could practice your speaking skills with?
Native British person? No, I've never had a British person. I had a couple of friends from America I've spoken English with.
Okay.
And a couple of people outside of English-speaking countries, people from Germany, some from France, Finland, and but never a British person.
Amazing. So how did you manage to improve your pronunciation then? So tell us about the strategies maybe that you have followed.
Strategies that I followed. One thing I've found for sure was that there is no way to learn how to speak without speaking. That's one thing I've found out. And by speaking, it is more like, instead of just speaking randomly, it is speaking with correcting yourself in mind. So whenever I wanted to learn how to speak, what I would do is I would record myself speaking, and then I would listen back to it, and then I'd think which parts that I have done wrong or which parts I could have done better. And then the next time when I recorded it with that in mind, while paying attention to what I did. And slowly it just clicked into place.
Wow, that sounds great. So you basically did reflections, right? So you reflected on your learning. So you've paused and you thought, okay, so how have I done, right? So what mistakes I have made, and what could I do differently next time?
Yes.
So a question here that any maybe English speaker would ask, like, how would you know if you were making mistakes, right? So how would you be able to tell that, like, if you had no teacher or anybody to help you with that?
How would I know? Well, without anyone, I found internet to be a great source to correct my pronunciations. There was one website in particular that I remember being of really good help. It's called Youglish. It's a website where you search for words, and it finds you YouTube videos where those words are used in.
Oh wow!
So instead of just looking for pronunciations and pre-made example sentences, it finds you entire videos that you can watch with. Yeah. That's about it.
And who the speakers are on that YouTube channel? Are they native speakers? I would imagine.
They are mostly native speakers. It's not just one channel. It finds YouTube videos across every channel on YouTube.
Okay.
So there will be more than 10,000 results per word for you to watch through.
That you can pick from, yeah?
Yeah.
Great. And you would just listen to all these people, like, native speakers using the words in their natural speech.
Yes, using in their natural speech, and then thinking about how they use that word in their sentences and how they pronounced it, how they stressed it while saying it, and then trying to pick up on it the next time you speak. That was a good help.
Nice. And how did that recording sessions go exactly? So would you just read something first, so receive some input from an article, or would you watch a video and then you kind of retell it basically? So how would you do those sessions?
How would I do those sessions? Well, to begin those sessions, I had to force myself a bit to start doing something. But what I did inside those sessions was basically my choice most of the time. So there would be something I'm interested in that could be from anywhere, and then I'll write something about it. just off the top of my head, maybe do some research if I'm really interested, and then read that out loud. So read what I have written out loud.
Okay. So one way is to basically have a script kind of thing, right? So you would just put a plan on paper, right? On what you want to say, and then you just read it out loud. So that, I guess, was mostly for improving your pronunciation.
Yeah, but script is not the correct way to put it. I did not follow it word per word. It was just more like my ideas, what I wanted to say. And then the words that I actually said was more off the top of my head rather than just read out loud.
Just like a plan.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. And how often would you do that?
How often? It's, well, I try to do it at least once a week, at least. But I most of the time did it more than that. Well, because I start to enjoy it, for one. But for the other time, I really wanted to learn English.
Great, so you were internally motivated.
Yeah. At the beginning, it wasn't like that. At the beginning, my skills weren't that good. So every time I listened to it, I would cringe a bit. And so at the beginning, I had to really force myself to do it, motivate myself. Or even if I couldn't motivate myself, I would force myself to do it either way, because I couldn't learn without working.
Sure.
But then after a while, when I start to get the gist of it, it started to be more fun to do.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's good to hear that you were enjoying the process.
Yeah.
And when did you start feeling the difference? Like after how many weeks or months, or maybe how many sessions you started feeling that, okay, I'm getting better, I'm becoming more confident as a speaker?
When did I start feeling that? I felt it quite late, actually, like 1 or 2 years. After 1 or 2 years, I started to feel that, yeah, maybe I got this. But before that, like 6 months in, maybe 4 months, 5 months, 6 months in, people would already start to tell me that, I'm getting better. But, well, in my mind, it wasn't like that. But
Sure.
Yeah. So I would say sometime between that, I got, more confident in my speaking. But it did not click with me until years later. Yeah,
very good, very good. Yeah, thanks. I mean, the thing that you've just shared, I am a non-native speaker either, and I tried the same technique that you just recommended here. Just recording myself. So I remember when I was preparing for my IELTS exam, it was like 12 years ago when I maybe more, when I first took it. So what I would do, basically, I would just read the questions. So I'd find questions, the speaking questions from the real IELTS exam, and I would read questions, and I would just, record myself answering those questions. And I would repeat the process as many times as necessary until I'm fully satisfied with my answer. So yeah, I completely understand what you're saying. So how difficult it was. So I had to force myself either, and I never liked how I was responding to the questions. And yeah, I had to just redo this over and over again. And I can attest to that. It's a really, really useful technique. So, and in terms of pronunciation, I would imagine, so you would just listen specifically British people speaking, right, to pick up the accent and improve?
Specific listen, yes, mostly. I would listen to their pronunciation and try to imitate that.
Yeah.
That's like that. But
again, by through recording yourself and then listening to your audios, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, if it's something that I'm more comfortable in with, I would just skip the recording and just speak to myself rather than listening to it. For example, for practicing things that I've already gotten down, I wouldn't just record everything. I would just speak out loud and then try to correct myself on the fly.
Excellent. Sounds great. Yeah, thank you so much, Mustafa. Is there any anything else you'd like to share? Any other suggestions you want to give to other people, learning English?
Any other suggestions?
Especially in maybe how to improve speaking. People say like, oh, I have no foreign teacher, or I have no speaking buddy. So how can I improve my speaking, teacher? That's the question I get often.
Well, as I've said before, there is no way to learn how to speak without speaking. So you really have to speak somehow, somewhere. So
even if it is talk to yourself, yeah.
Yeah, even if it's talking to yourself, you have to speak somehow. And that's about all I can say. I mean, with internet today, we have more opportunities to talk to people than back in the day. So what I would suggest is get into communities, get into English communities, to be specific, where people speak English.
Right.
And try to be open and try to have a conversation with people. But if you do not have the opportunity to do that at all, then yeah, speaking to yourself is better than nothing.
Yeah, speaking to yourself, recording yourself, and more importantly, reflecting on what you're doing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. I think, Mustafa, this has been very helpful. So it's especially motivating to hear your story. So you are a student, and you just said that you became serious about learning English just 3 years ago, and now you've made a huge progress. So yeah, bravo, congratulations on what you've achieved, and I hope you achieve even more in the future.
Thank you,
Mustafa. Thank you so much. Yeah, for your time.
Thank you for having me here.
Thanks. Yeah, I wish you all the best. Take care.
Take care, teacher.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.